Hey, now it's the Rob from 106.1 KISS FM here with my 16-bit colleague.
Hey guys, it's me, Steve, web contributor to 1061 evansville.com. And you know that little trigger on the bottom of your controller? Don't press that unless you're serious.
Never press that button unless you're serious. Never pull the trigger unless you mean it. We are proving once again we are the best dressed podcast on the internet, and we are happy to be here with you today, returning the focus from Halloween to our favorite consoles. And we're talking this time about the Nintendo 64. Last time we did this, a few weeks ago, we talked about the Sony PlayStation. I've said before on this podcast, Steve, this is not my favorite generation of video games.
Yes.
I feel like this was more of a stepping stone generation. I wasn't a big fan of all the polygons. I felt like the 16-bit generation had a certain look about it, and the PlayStation 2 generation had a certain look about it, but between those two eras was a period of puberty for video games that I didn't like the way it looked, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
I also, learned a little bit about myself and my history of video games. If you would have asked me earlier, what console did I like better, the PlayStation or the Nintendo 64? I probably would have said the Sony PlayStation, but putting this list together and the amount of struggle I had narrowing things down to just 3 games, I think I was a more Nintendo 64 fan. But we can get into that later. There are some great games on the Nintendo 64 now. I have some honorable mentions that I wanted to throw out there before we get to our top 3.
Okay.
Because like I said, when I was writing down games that I thought were my favorites, I couldn't get down to less than 9.
Yeah.
So I ranked them in order of their importance in my life. These are my favorite games to have been on the Nintendo 64. I won't spend a lot of times on any number greater than 3.
So you're going 9 through 4 right now?
9 through 4.
All right.
Number 9, Star Fox 64.
Okay.
Number 8, Super Smash Brothers. Number 7, 007, GoldenEye.
Oh, number 7.
Number 6, Super Mario 64. Number 5, Banjo-Kazooie. Number 4, WWF No Mercy.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
I'm also not going to be deducting more than 1 game per franchise. So that includes Wrestlemania 2000 in my world too.
Okay.
All right, Steve, so those round out my top 9. What is your third favorite game on the Nintendo 64?
Gotta go with the Mario family, Mario Kart 64.
Mario Kart 64, we have a match. Mario Kart 64 is my third favorite Nintendo 64
All right,
game.
wow.
That was not pre-planned. As you can see from the glee in our faces, only nerds can provide that kind of glee when talking about Mario Kart 64. Still my favorite entry in the Mario Kart franchise. And there are better games, don't get me wrong, but this game was such an incredible step forward for the franchise.
Yeah.
First of all, it was so neat to have a 4-player split screen and a 4 controllers being able to plug right into the console. Yeah. But this game took Mario Kart into the future.
Yeah. Me not being a fan of racing games whatsoever.
Me neither.
This was the first one I loved. And, the Mario aspect of it with the shortcuts and the weapons. And it's just a Mario-esque game, and I loved it. And this is probably up to this point, the only racing game I loved and would still play to this day.
It's a franchise that I still love. It's still being highly successful. But man, what that did for the games, it's like you can play the first one, and the first one was so good, but it just stepped it up on every level. Yeah. Great choice. We seem to agree on number 3. What's number 2?
My number 2 is actually Wrestlemania 2000.
I prefer the baby brother, the No Mercy personally, but they're almost the same game.
Yeah.
That game is epically good. WCW was making games like that for a few years before that, but when WWF got that license, they blew it up.
Yes.
What are your memories of that game?
It was the first game I really got into the creative player, and I also realized it was the first game, if you changed an existing player, the opening video of the game would change to focus that look.
A subtle touch that I appreciated. I did love making a wrestler in that game.
Yes.
It had I don't want to call it like full motion video, but it had like their Titantrons in it, which looked presentable. And it had their theme music that you could just play if you wanted to hear it. Because back then, like, just listening to wrestling theme music was cool. That game, I put so many hours into WrestleMania 2000 and No Mercy. I love No Mercy's story mode that eventually came. But the best thing about that game, the matches were so fun to play
Yes.
that no wrestling game before or after has come close, in my opinion. No SmackDown versus Raw, no SmackDown 2K whatever, no WWE 2K whatever. Nothing has touched it. It's ruined wrestling games for me literally ever since.
There's one in the future that comes that will come up in a different system, but we'll get to that.
Okay, sure. In my opinion, there's no wrestling game in the future that's touched it. Again, that's just my opinion.
Okay.
We disagree on some things. My number 2 favorite game, or should I say franchise, is actually Mario Party. Mario Party to me is a game that has always been relevant in my life since the first one came out. The best one on the Nintendo 64 is probably the last one, the third one, followed by the second one. But those games, I love party games. I love board games. I like having many people over to play a game.
Yes.
And the Nintendo 64 put a great focus on party games because of the 4 controller ports.
Yes.
It was the first system to do it at the time. So that game, I love the board game approach with Mario characters. It was a big step. Not forward, but like sideways. It was like you see Mario play sports, sure, and you've seen him jump on turtles, but you've never seen him like, in a board game setting.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool, and still my second favorite thing about the Nintendo 64, the Mario Party franchise. You like those games, don't you?
I do. Rob, Mario Party 3 is Rob's number 2 and my number 1.
Look at us!
Yes.
Holy cow! All right, go ahead.
Just, you said the board game aspect of it brought a new realm of gaming to me. Having friends over and playing a video board game. All the mini battles, the 1-on-3s, you love the game as much as you hate the game.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's Mario, and they did it right with number 3. I still think it's the best in the series. I haven't played the number 10, the newest one yet, but 1 through 9...
By the way, you have to come over and play that sometime.
I will.
Yeah, because I've got that game. It's still doing big things. It's not as good as Mario Party 3. They've done a thing where, like, everyone moves at the same time.
Okay.
Which I don't like. I kind of like being able to spread across a board. So the franchise has gone down, but there are some highlights. Like 7 and 8 were really good on the GameCube and the Wii respectively.
Yes.
But 3 was a real high point. I did not know that was your favorite. Wrestlemania 2000 didn't surprise me being on your list, but that one did. So that was a pleasant surprise that we agreed on that one. And my number 1 favorite... didn't have to put a whole lot of thought into number 1. The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. I am not inducting that as a franchise because I hate Majora's Mask that came after it. But man, what that did... Like, this was the one polygon game that worked the best for me. Like, I love Super Mario. But Super Mario 64 is not my favorite game. When Zelda did it, I don't know what it did differently, but it worked for me. It told a grand story with beautiful scenery, great characters, memorable quests and side quests, and just it was everything a Zelda game did right and moved it into the third dimension. Some games made that switch really well. Some games didn't.
Yes.
Donkey Kong did not make the jump to Nintendo 64 very well. But The Legend of Zelda sure did, in my opinion.
That did not surprise me that was on your top.
Yeah, that to me is a great Zelda game. Not as good as Link to the Past, but still a great game. We'll talk about other systems here in the future. In the meantime, let's wrap up this conversation because that was a lot of fun. A great system.
Yes.
And you know what we need to mention? How great that controller was.
Oh, I love the controller.
I mean, you could get it in different colors. It had a joystick and a D-pad on it. All the C buttons. It was a very, while a little heavy, it was a great controller to have in your hand. I thought that was a great system. So for this time, we need to talk about controllers at some point.
Okay.
Maybe our next episode can focus on best video game controllers.
Okay.
But till then, keep on playing games. And for myself, the Rob, and for my partner, Steve.
Thanks, guys.